I'll turn my.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Test Optimize Scale podcast with Seymour, the founder of MAGFAST. Having fun with it today. Seymour, you're on Zoom all day and ran into we're all running into tech issues here, huh?
This is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I'm probably in Zoom 7 hours a day. You know, sometimes as little as 5, sometimes 10, 12. This is a Zoom meeting. I click on the link to come to this Zoom meeting, and I'm getting freezing up and all kinds of stuff. So I managed to get in on my phone real quick. I've got the laptop here. I even came down into a little studio here because I wanted to put my best foot forward for you, Jason.
Thank you, sir.
And here we go. So hang on. Let me type in my password. I've done a restart on the machine here. If we're careful, I don't read my password out loud. Major security breach. So we'll restart the Mac, see how it goes. And you know what? If it doesn't want to play, we will just do it like this, and we'll make it even better than it would have been otherwise. How about that?
Absolutely. I think this is beyond engaging in terms of dynamic as it is. This is exciting for me, Seymour. Not only I've been waiting for you to come on to my podcast. This is episode 177, but this is our first live episode. We do monthly webinars. I'm on a lot of digital panels and live events as a whole, but this podcast has never been live before. So it's a historic day for everyone.
So yes. Let's hope it doesn't. Let's hope it's not a historic day that goes down in ignominy because of this connections. So I'm clicking on the link again.
Okay.
In the calendar, and it's open. It's saying new meeting. It's not saying do you want to join the meeting. It's the strangest thing. So I think we probably shouldn't waste any more time on it. I think I should turn it like that. I've got a little stand here. Maybe I can put it on the stand.
Sure.
And then we'll get to work.
I think that works.
Do we have
What's that?
If I turn it sideways, am I good, or am I now just sideways?
You're sideways at the moment. It feels
All
like
right. I'm gonna be vertical. We're not gonna waste any more time on it. We're just gonna jump in and have some fun.
This is perfect. It actually speaks to the title of the show. My approach, my perspective towards not just marketing, but entrepreneurship, growth, test, optimize, scale. We're optimizing here. We're working in real time. It's like an analogy for business growth as a whole right here.
And it is. I mean, the truth is, I mean, just in life in general, it ain't what kind of goes wrong. It's how you respond to it, right? I mean, that's the sort of, the big global lesson for the short time that we have on planet Earth, right? Stuff is gonna mess you around, but how do you respond to it when it happens? Huh? All right.
Exactly. And I've seen the differentiators there from the top groups in regulated investment, crowdfunding, in entrepreneurship, startups, mid-market, push through any obstacles. So that's an ideology I believe in. But Seymour, you are a standout. I've worked in regulated investment crowdfunding since the beginning, and you are top issuer on Netcapital, one of the top issuers of regulated crowdfunding to date. There's been over 8,000. Your name is in that small list. I'm looking forward to sharing with the audience today, which my audience includes founders, marketers, VC industry professionals, about how you've been able to do it, how MAGFAST has been able to produce over 20 million in sales, how your product innovations continue to position you as the top in your category with Apple, with all of these other tech providers, and how you're about to cross, you've already passed the $9 million mark for funds raised on Reg CF. These are amazing accomplishments. I know you can't give the full roadmap, but any insights would be great today, and we're going to dive in our discussion.
Yeah, I'm happy to share everything we know. And I want to just, this is a very gracious introduction. Look, we are a long way from perfect. I often describe, particularly when I'm talking to new folks, people who might be kind of coming to work with us in some capacity. The point I always make is I feel like MAGFAST is like the stuff that we do at our best, which I really feel we're world class. I'm incredibly proud of the stuff that we do in the studio. As you know, I kind of came in at the last minute. It just happens to be on the desk in front of me. This is just the leaflet that comes in one of our products.
Mhm.
All right. Those of you watching the video feed at the moment, if you're just listening to the podcast, I'm holding up, and this is just the little leaflet that comes in the box, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's glossy, and the color reproduction is terrific. And so when people just open the box, it's only for a cable, but when they open the box, there's just this feeling of it being world class. I think the best stuff we do is at that level. I think at the moment we're a startup. We've had a boatload of difficulties over the last few years, and we miss our marks too often. But we're only getting better, and we're only working harder, and we're only kind of learning the lessons. So I just want to, like one or two of our customers will be listening, and they'll be going, well, yeah, but you screwed up shipping this thing or whatever. I don't want to make out that we think we're perfect. We think that we're really proud of the best stuff we do, and we're working like hell to be better at everything else. Yeah.
And Seymour, I like to start with background. I know you have your full breakdown on Netcapital, and I want to ask questions about the most recent updates and how you guys have become the best. But I want to take it a step further. Where did it all begin for you? How, as engineer, did you turn your focuses to this vertical, and where did the ideation come to actually create
Sure.
MAGFAST?
How far back do we want to go? I mean, my mother and father met in New York at a dinner party in 1962. I'm guessing that's a little too far back. Look,
I've heard it
let's do
done
the
before,
story.
wherever you'd like. Wherever you feel it
Let's
begins.
Sure. So let's do the story of involvement with charges. About a decade ago, I had just an idea for a charger that I thought would be cool, and it was just like, I mean, I think many people, maybe even most people, have ideas for products from time to time. Oh, why don't they make a broom with 3 sets of brushes on it instead of one, or whatever the
Sure.
crazy idea is that you come up with.
Everyone's got one.
Everyone's got one. And with this one, I kind of did a mock-up of it. Like I went into the basement, and here it is. Actually, again, for those of you on the video feed, happens to be here in the studio. This is the original mock-up that I made in the basement. I'm holding it up to the camera. You can see all the glue holding it all together and how rough it all is. And this
There it
design on
is.
the front. Design on the front was just a sticky label, and I stuck it on the front. I took another electronics product and kind of took a hacksaw to it to mock up my thing. I had it in the studio here the other day for a presentation. And when I started showing the idea to people, there was just such a positive reaction to it. I'm like, oh my God, because normally when you say, hey, I've got this idea for a broom with 3 handles and 2 brushes, people go, yeah, that's great. Seymour, that's great, Jason. Yeah, you really should do your dumb broom. But there was this very different reaction. It was like, wow, that'd be great. Oh my God, I'd love to have that in my den. I'd love to, oh my God. If I could have that in the kitchen, it would be incredible. So there was this enthusiasm, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I got to figure out how to do this now. This was in the era that Kickstarter, Indiegogo, the crowdfunding was just getting started. So I say it was about a decade ago. So it was 2013. The original idea came up early 2013. And so we found a guy on Fiverr who was good at doing 3D modeling. He still works with me to this day. He's like my MVP and kind of in the company, Philip. And Philip did these mock-ups that today look very basic, but at the time I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. And so we sort of mocked up what the whole thing would look like, and we put it on Indiegogo. I didn't know what to do. Let's put it on Indiegogo. If nobody supports it, then I can pack up and go back to whatever else it was I was doing at the time. But if people like it, then we're going to figure out how to get this thing made. And at the time, Kickstarter and Indiegogo were much more about if you have an idea, like if you've got an idea on a napkin,
Right.
you put it up there. These days, it's much more like, oh, we'll do some pre-sales a few months before it ships. There's a kind of shift. And that's not trivial, but that's a kind of a shift that's happened over the years. So we put it on Indiegogo, and it really took off. I mean, it's a longer story, but within the first few days, we had enough signals that I was able to talk to an ad agency that specialized in rewards crowdfunding. All right, you guys at DNA specialize in kind of equities crowdfunding. So these guys did rewards. and it was a very small agency. The guy there had had success with several other campaigns, and he looked at the numbers and said, "Oh my God, yeah, let's get started right away." So he started running ads, and this was in a different era of online advertising, and he was, spending $1 and getting $10 in at Indiegogo. Like we were getting a kind of 10-to-1 kind of ROAS or MER, the marketing efficiency ratio was way up there, 10 times or 10%, however you want to characterize it.
Strong.
So that was great. Yeah, and we became. I remember looking it up. I remember going all through Kickstarter, all through Indiegogo, and creating the claim that was true at the time: the all-time #1 crowd-funded mobile accessory. All right, because there were one or two who'd raised more than us, but they were specifically for iPhone or specifically for Android or something. And we were the #1 for mobile devices at the time, and we raised, I forget what it was, $650,000. So that product was called Thing Charger, and then we got about the business of making it. Took longer than expected. We shipped out a boatload of them. I think it was about 250,000 kind of units in the end to 70 or 80,000 customers. But the cash flow went wrong. We actually had a couple of months where we grew very, very quickly, which everybody thinks is the dream scenario. It can actually be a nightmare, and it was a nightmare for us. We ran out of cash, and we wound up, failing to ship to some folks. So that was basically the end of that enterprise. But in the course of it, a couple of things had happened. First of all, we'd come up with some great ideas for what we could do with charging, and also discovered that there was this big market. And so what I did was I did a poll of all of the people who'd supported that company and said, like, we made some mistakes. Should we go around again, or should we, as we say in England, bugger off into the sunshine? Like should we disappear? And the vote was not unanimous, but it was 84% said go back right in again. And so that was that then became the foundation of this company, MAGFAST, which has had 10 times the problems that the first company had, but is still here. They were different. They were kind of different problems, much more to do with execution on the first round of products. We have shipped tens of thousands of units kind of in total, but we've now retired the first generation of products because they took too long to produce. A lot of people say, "Oh, MAGFAST, with COVID and everything." COVID didn't help at all, but it was actually other problems with manufacturing. Is this okay? By the way, I feel like I'm trying to get the whole story out as quickly as possible.
No, I love it. We're right alongside you. I love that we were able to see the prototype, followed with the crowdfunding, heard about obstacles, how you were able to change things up, and actually hear the audience say, "No, keep doing this." So COVID, where are you at from there?
So I say, but COVID was unhelpful, but it was not the source of the problem. The source of the problem was two parts. One that's not really to do with your area, Jason, and DNA, which is to do with manufacturing, finding the right manufacturer, funding it properly, development timetables. Because we come up with a set of products that were sort of ambitious, and made some. There were some places where we should have simplified, and we didn't. Okay. That caused a lot of delays. But the other challenge was very much in your field, which was when we started out, as you heard, in the early days, we were getting these great returns on advertising spend. Yeah. But around the time that COVID started, Apple introduced, was it iOS 14 or 14.3 or something? Apple basically changed Apple made it much more difficult for Facebook and the others to track advertising effectiveness. And a lot of companies just went out of business as a result of this. They could no longer get the returns that they wanted. We managed to hang on, but suddenly, instead of putting $1 in and getting 4 or 5 back, we were putting in $1 and getting, 1 back or 2 back, or like these terrible numbers. So cash became very difficult. We did a bunch of investment rounds on Netcapital, which is what we're here to talk about. But the current state of the company is that we've now retired those early products because they were phenomenal when we first invented them. But and we shipped a bunch of them. I'm really proud of a lot of the work we did there. But to be amazing in the future, we've needed to invent the second generation. And so the second generation products are the ones that we're working on now. We've started to show them to people. We're shipping some awesome cables at the moment, MAGFAST Lux. And we're actually, at the time we're recording this, which is, where are we? First, we're a week into, we're just after the presidential election. It's the 7th of November today as we're recording. And we're doing a fundraising at the moment on Netcapital. And I just wanted to mention to anybody who's listening, who'd be interested in kind of following along and just seeing what we do, because a lot of the stuff we're going to talk about, we're actually doing it over the next few weeks. Would it be okay if I gave out a URL, Jason, if folks want to?
Absolutely. If folks want to go and learn more, absolutely. And we could have it reposted here as well.
Yeah. So it's just a very simple URL. All right. Test optimized scale. We've taken the word scale from the name of the podcast and stuck it on the end of our URL. So we are MAGFAST, MAGFAST, magfast.com, because our products are magnetic and fast. They're MAGFAST. So we're magfast.com/scale. Okay, magfast.com/scale. That's it. If you can uppercase the word MAGFAST, of course, as part of our branding, that would be great. But yeah, magfast.com/scale. And we've got a little form there. Thank you very much. We've got a little form there. But branding's important, by the way. I'm kind of, Jason's smiling because I've raised this with him before. But one of our brand rules is we always write the word MAGFAST in uppercase. And it's either a rule or it isn't a rule. So Jace understood why. It's an easy mistake to make, but you understand why I asked, and God bless him, he corrected it right away. And it's important. If you're going to build a brand, you have to be consistent the way you present it. Anyway, magfast.com/scale. I think it's first name, email, and put in your mobile number as well, because we're doing one of our big live events couple of weeks from today, the day we're recording. And you can, if you sign up, you can unsubscribe at any time, but you'll get invited to the event. You can come to the event. You can see what we do, how we stage it, the way we position the offer, and all of that kind of stuff. And the format that we're following is similar to the ones we've done in the past that have raised very, very large amounts of money in short amounts of time. All right, now you've got the frame. We've got the framework in place.
So Seymour, you're a creative man who said, hey, I have this idea, my engineering background, my school, everything I'm doing in my career, let me try this out. You got the response through Indiegogo. You were able to market and be able to scale, to be able to grow what you were getting from the organic audiences and take it to the next levels. You changed up manufacturing. You went through global pandemics and all different types of external factors, and have been able to continue to grow the organization, continue to develop products that are groundbreaking, and thought we could get into some of the products there, because I want to make sure everyone has that same regard for my audience for what MAGFAST does. You're able to show the packaging, but what makes the world of charging cables so interesting? What are the problems that audiences have, and the solution? Why has it really resonated? Why isn't this just something that, hey, I got a new phone, I picked up a supply? Why do people continue to buy bundles? Why do your products, charging, the locks, every bit about 2.0, continue to stand out in the industry?
Yeah. So let's start with the cables, because we're in this period at the moment where we have shown the second generation products for the first time, and you'll see them when you join us it's called Power Pivot, by the way, the event you're invited to. When you join us for Power Pivot, we'll show you the new products and explain their kind of raison d'être, as the French say, their reason for being. We'll explain in more detail then. But let me start with the cables, because we're in this period now where we've we've now discontinued the Gen 1 products, and we're working on the Gen 2 products. So we actually only have the cables at the moment. And this sounds like, okay, well, why would anybody be interested in cables? And it's completely fair. It's a category that is largely completely unloved by people. If you think of Starbucks as one of the most successful corporations kind of all time, it's difficult to imagine it, but there was a time before Starbucks. And in the time before Starbucks, there were kind of two ways of getting coffee. Very specialized coffee, like for aficionados who really understood it. Maybe they made it at home, or maybe there was some restaurants and some places doing it. Or you'd pick up a cup of Joe, right? You'd pick up a 50-cent cup someplace. That's what most of us would do back then. And Starbucks came along and said, you know what? We'll take all those people who are spending 50 cents on a cup of coffee, and we'll charge them $3, $4, $5 and people will do it because they love that. I don't know what it is, but there's something about that feeling, right?
Yes.
Which is absolutely the product itself, but it's also the packaging, and it's also the, if you choose to stay in the environment in the coffee shop, well, they say it's the third place, right? You have homework, and then the third place. Part of the law of Starbucks is they were creating the third place. But basically, for most people, they were making a kind of everyday luxury out of something that just wasn't. It was just like nothing special up until that point. And when we looked at cables, and I do just mean the cable, a lot of people will be listening to this in the car, right? You look down, you've probably got a couple of cables plugging things in. I bet you don't love the cables. I bet they're just something you bought. You probably got the cheapest one you could on Amazon. They fail every few months. And we were just like, you know what? Let's make a really nice cable. And we came up with this thing, MAGFAST Lux. And just every detail of it, we moved to make it incredible. I'm holding up the picture again for those who are watching the video feed, and you can see if you look, Jason, just confirm this for the people who can't see it. It's all these incredible. I'm just holding up the tip of the cable at the moment, but it's all these beautiful curves. Like it looks like some sort of sculpture rather than something that just kind of came shooting off a manufacturing line. And most of them have sharp edges. And the best way to describe this, I already gave the Starbucks example, but if you're a chef, you know the difference between a cheap knife and a really good chef's knife, right?
Yes.
They will both cut the meat, right? But the chef's knife, you'll love cutting the meat for decades to come, right? And the cheap one, it'll work, but you'll never really love it. It'll just be another kind of meh product in your life. And that's what we've done with Lux. People absolutely adore it. We did this crazy thing, which is modern cables are. I think probably most folks listening are familiar with USB-C now. If you look in the bottom of your, any Android from the last 8 or 10 years is USB-C. Any iPhone current generation or previous generation is USB-C. It's the modern global standard for charging. So these cables are USB-C to USB-C, USB-C at both ends. So you plug it into your phone or your tablet or whatever, plug it into the wall at the other. But we've had a quarter of a century of this thing called USB-A. Yeah, I was looking to see if I got one of my little adapters here. Here we go. Again, for those of you on the feed. So we ship them with a USB-A adapter. And again, it's this beautiful shape. So you can take this modern cable designed for the next 10 years, and you can plug it into any of the outlets that were designed for the last 10 years. And I wasn't really set up to do a kind of a whole sort of video thing here today. But for those of you on the feed,
and for audio listeners, you're plugging the adapter into the wire right now. Gold plating,
right. and the two.
Yeah.
And I was just going to say, Jason, there's two things about it. Because look, everyone's got adapters, but there's two things about the adapter. One, it's included with the product. Mm. I don't know anybody else ships certainly a premium USB-C cable with it. So we're like, okay, they're going to get this great cable, and then half the outlets in their house won't work. Let's include the adapter. Then the next thing is, let's make the adapter gorgeous like the cable. All right. Yes. And I'm aware that 80% of people listening at the moment are going to think I'm completely insane for speaking about a stupid cable and adapter with this level of energy and enthusiasm. I'm here to tell you, My team thought I was this crazy when I was first talking. I was like, I think we can do a cable. We found this great manufacturer. It feels incredible in your hand. Everyone thought I was completely crazy in the wrong way. But it turned out that on this, at least, I was crazy in the right way. The customers love the cable, and they come back and they buy them over and over and over again. It comes in beautiful packaging. They give it as gifts. So I don't want to spend any more time talking about the cable,
Sure.
other than to make the point that make it amazing. If you're going to do something, make it amazing. Make it that you're really, really proud of it. You know, just
I know the feeling
the
I
extra
get.
mile. Take the extra time. Make it incredible.
I know the feeling I get when I use the cables. Just gonna run and grab mine and my adapter. It's similar to what I get when I pick up my iPhone or when I open
Yeah.
my MacBook Pro or I'm using my iMac. It takes me somewhere mentally. And I love the coffee analogy, by the way. I don't know if you've heard me talk about this on the podcast before, Seymour, and this is of course all impromptu. My father was in the coffee industry. He taught me about business, and he said
Yeah.
the coffee sells itself. It's the experience, it's the service that brings our customers in. And they were, working with businesses here in LA, in the 90s, the coffee machines, the roast, everything about it was a heightened experience for their clientele. And this is before Amazon. People were going to Costco, owners of businesses, and restocking. So I learned early on, it's that feeling that comes along with the service. Their segue was, we're going to spoil you. And
Yeah.
I know that's the sentiment I get when I'm using the products. My team as well too. We all have the wires, and it's funny how the simple things in life can make a big difference towards your day or towards the work you're about to do with these devices.
Yeah. I mean, look, most of us can't afford to have that every item in our home is the premium best thing. You know what I mean? I mean, most of us wind up with, mostly kind of affordable clothing. Maybe you have, one nice shirt or or a few. Do you know
Sure.
what I mean? Like most of us would,
For special dinners.
right. And then perhaps but whenever you get the good item, you rarely regret it down the line. So with the cables, we've done that. We've shipped a kind of boatload of those, many tens of thousands of. It's called MAGFAST Lux, LUX, MAGFAST Lux, and we have Lux Pro, which because the whole laptop thing went wrong and I'm now on my phone, I can actually show you Lux Pro because it was otherwise plugged in.
Let's do it.
Here, so Lux Pro, I'll just show you this real quick. Do you see that it's kind of bigger? It's like it's got many of the same sort of curves. It's gold plated, like the other one. I forgot to mention that, gold plated. But this guy is, we're calling it our everything everywhere all at once cable. Because it's first of all, you can see that it's thicker. All right. It's quite a bit thicker, so it's going to be even stronger. We actually have video up of it. I do not recommend you try this at home, but we've actually towed a car using this cable. All right, but it doesn't look, it doesn't feel like something you tow a car with. It's all beautiful and smooth, and it moves in this incredible way. But the specification of it is through the roof. It's going to be able. I mean, your phone at the moment typically charges at 40 watts. Laptops typically 100, 130 kind of max out. Some PC laptops are now up at kind of 200, 240, but they don't use USB-C. They use like a barrel connector. We're going to be able to do 240 watts right through this cable. So it's going to have all the power you need for all your stuff for the next decade and beyond. And it also takes lots and lots of data. It's going to have a USB, for anyone who's interested, a USB 3.2 specification. So it's going to do 10 gigabits per second. That's a lot. Typically, when I'm in the studio here, I have kind of 2 or 3 cameras. I have a video monitor. I have microphones. I have power. I have internet. I have them all going into my laptop. Just with I'll show you from here. So here it is. Here's my setup. There's the laptop, not in use at the moment because of the problems we discussed earlier on. And then I just put that one connection in there. Whoops, put that one connection in there, and then all the video monitor, all the microphones, extra cameras, all of this stuff all feeds in
Powered up.
one. And you can do that with other cables. but they're generally not beautiful, gorgeous, excellent packaging, gold plated, and most of them these days are not so highly specified on the wattage as well, 240. All right, so it's going to be called Lux Pro.
So, Seymour, just want to pause for a second. You've built these amazing products, every detail taken into account to create that enthusiasm from the users, to create the serotonin around the product, as you guys so eloquently say.
Yeah.
You host these amazing webinars and do them regularly, where many other founders feel, hey, a quick ad, maybe a social post, I can talk about an investment opportunity, such as the one that you have live on Netcapital, or a product. You choose to do long form, 2 hour length videos. And I've been reading some recent studies. You know, it's election time. There's all this stuff around long form content and the effects. Why do you choose to do a webinar to speak about your product? And what type of responses do you get from the audience in contrast to just putting up a landing page, an e-commerce site, just putting up an offering page for the investment and expecting audiences to get it?
It's a great question. The first thing I would say is this happens to be a thing that we've always done really well. So like I would recommend this as a tool for other people might consider adding this tool to their arsenal. We need to be getting way better at TikTok and influencers and all of these other things. But to the degree that I can share the bit that maybe we're good at, let's take it through. I want to recommend,
of course,
a book to anybody who's interested in doing this. The Presentations of Steve Jobs, Carmine Gallo. Make sure you get the full book. There's a shorter version of it around. There's like a kind of Cliff Notes version of it. You want to get the full version. It's on Amazon. It's on Apple Books or whatever. And Carmine Gallo is a communications specialist. He consults with a lot of big companies about how they should, how they should communicate, and and he studied why it was that Steve Jobs was so incredibly good at doing these presentations, right? And I studied that kind of quite a while ago, and just started doing these presentations, just incorporating the advice in that book. And I'll just give you the first one straight off, which is, classically, when people do PowerPoint, it immediately makes a really boring presentation. Because typically you've got something you want to say, so you title the slide, planning for 2025, internal presentation, and then you write down the 10 things that you want to talk about, and so you've now got a slide with like 10 bullet points on it, and each of those bullet points has probably got 7 or 8 words in it. Now you've got 70 or 80 words on a single slide, and people are reading that slide. Not because their brain is being scrambled because they've got different things going in visually, right? From the 10 bullet points, they're getting different information there than they're getting from their auditory channel from what you're saying. So one of the lessons is keep the slides incredibly simple, right? Incredibly simple. And if you do need to put several bits of information onto them, make sure you build them slowly and carefully, and you only build them as you're saying them. And what I've just said is so obvious and so basic. I'm concerned that people listening may even find it insulting. Please do not. Please do not. I'm saying it only because it's very rare that you see a presentation that is done like this, which means that most people, it may be obvious to them, but they ain't doing it, right? And it's so incredibly powerful when you do. So we launched MAGFAST years ago now. We wanted to make sure we did it all properly. We started a new corporation. We purchased the mailing list from the old company that had failed, right? So in other words, we made sure we did it all the right way, everything above board. And we then invited those people to the launch. And I spent a while putting together the presentation. The other thing I do is I tend to do very large numbers of slides with very little on each one. So what that means is that any one slide is only on screen for, I mean, some of them stay there for a minute, but many times they're only on screen for 5 seconds, 10 seconds, because I'm just showing a quick picture of something, or I've got one word on the screen and I'm just talking about that word for a minute. So what this means is that when people are watching, they've got something more stimulating than this old guy talking to them, right? So they've got the old guy some of the time, but visually they've got these slides moving, and it's not a movie, but there's fresh visual stimulus every 5 seconds or 7 seconds or 2 seconds or whatever. If you're building a slide, maybe there's something every kind of couple of seconds. A little bit of work on using some animations and so on. That's nice, but less important than the visuals themselves. And just be prepared to be bold. Like if you're showing, I mean, again, I keep on giving these examples that are only good for the people who are watching. But this thing that I've held up before, the booklet from inside the product that I held up at the beginning, saying, it's just the very tip of the product. It's not the whole product. It's like an extreme close-up on the tip of the product, which makes it surprising and kind of unusual. And part of the way the brain works is it's really good at remembering things that are unusual, and it's really bad at remembering things that are normal. If you think back, Jace, you can probably remember the day your mummy took you to the supermarket and you tripped over and fell into that enormous pile of baked bean cans, right? But you can't remember the other 100 times that you went to the supermarket with your mum in that age range. Do you see what I mean? We're good at remembering the things that are unusual. And so we want to be doing that in all aspects of our communications. How can we break through? We have a thing we do at the moment, and you've actually run some of these ads for us, Jason, where one day I had an hour to kill driving back from a meeting. And so I recorded a little piece, just talking to camera. I just had the camera mounted on the dashboard, driving safely, but I just sort of conversationally spoke into the camera, talking about the business. And this was 7 years ago. And for like 3 years, it was the best performing ad, because most ads don't look like that. So I had a way of, even though it was just unscripted and so on, it just had this way of kind of cutting through the clutter on the internet. And we still find if we want a quick hit, jump in the car and record something to the camera. It won't work for anyone else, of course. It's only because it's me. But yeah, it's kind of amazing. So long form, it's got to be part of your arsenal. Obviously,
Yes.
not everyone will sit through this. Not everyone will register for it. Not everyone will stay. But it does give you an opportunity to unpack your story kind of slowly and carefully. I mean, I'm speaking extemporaneously with you now and responding to your questions.
Yes.
But obviously, bits of the story are pieces that were previously prepared for these presentations. And I think it's also people can get, there's a lot of kind of misinformation and untruth in the modern world, and and not just in our politics, but in our advertising communications and that kind of thing. And people see something online, can I trust this and this, that, and the other? And I feel like for the people who do stay and watch the whole presentation, they've seen the whites of my eyes, quite a bit by the end of it. And they know, they know they can assess the content of almost of my character and the company's character. We may screw up, but it won't be because we're not trying our hearts out to do something amazing. Does that make sense? I think it's helpful.
You're a
I think it's
very
helpful.
authentic guy, Seymour. It's not that you're looking to, sell MAGFAST products to sell more products, but because you genuinely love them. You've engineered them to be the product that you would seek out and to get that extra addition to your day, that feeling. And this is brilliant. You're breaking down how you can use presentations over, extended periods of time, it's very tough to get someone's attention for an hour, 2 hours. You're referencing the greats, and even, Steve Jobs. I love Steve Jobs. I love the products. I didn't feel Steve Jobs was selling me products as much as educating me. So being able to use a PowerPoint, man, what are the feelings you get even hearing that word PowerPoint?
Oh,
But
I
being
know.
able to break it down.
And
Yeah,
by the way,
please.
we don't use PowerPoint, we use Keynote.
Of course.
Which
And
is
I've
which
actually
is
met people who do the keynote presentations for Tim Cook, and
yeah,
it's an art. Anyone can use the program, but how you use it makes all the difference. And only a few seconds per slide, very visual, very quick, being able to take the point. Even when you shared the story about the supermarket, I was going back and I remember hitting the shelving. I don't remember the baked beans, but I remember hitting the shelving. And it was those little visuals that you were able to
yeah,
trigger that brought me back there mentally,
yeah.
and
And
then
by
what
the
you're
way,
doing. Yes, with the
for anyone listening, I mean, I just made that up. I figured an example would be that one would remember. So it's coincidence that you actually have an incident that was similar to that. But the point is, it's anything that's different. You remember.
Mhm.
Here we go. When I first came to New York, we are 16, 17, 18 years ago. I remember going for a walk in Central Park, and there was what was it called? I think it was called the Gate. There was like this art installation in Central Park. I think most people have got an image of Central Park in their minds. And what it was a whole series of kind of ready orange um, fabric pieces that were strung up, that were hung up. Yeah, I think you can look it up. I think if you Google, was it called the Gate Central Park art installation? Anyway, and it was
Sounds
kind of
familiar.
amazing, and it's kind of amazing. And they were floating around, and like a lot of people, I was there walking around looking at it because it was it was only there for a week or two or a month or whatever it was. I remember one other individual I saw, and it was the skinny young man with an enormous orange afro on his head. So
Huh.
he it was either a wig or maybe that was his natural hair color. It's hard to believe, but he was there and he was matching the installation. And this is 17 years later. I never met him. I never had anything to do with him. But it was just like this. It was like this incredible kind of visual out of the blue. So our minds are really good at remembering unusual things. We have an
Mhm.
ad we're working. We have an ad that we keep on meaning to script up and shoot, which we'll get to before too long, which is one of the things we're working on for the next generation of chargers is these they have this stupid name that the industry isn't charging industry is really bad at naming things. So the thing is called Qi 2, but it'll be familiar to uh, people with iPhones as being that ring of magnets on the back. Okay. And it's now, Apple have now shared it with the industry. It's called Qi 2. It's fantastic. It's what you want. And Qi 2 is basically a ring of magnets and then a coil inside. So you can just put your phone down. And unlike previously with wireless charging, where it was kind of a bit random. Did you line it up properly? And does it charge properly? Now the magnets make sure it all lines up properly, and you get a not super fast, but you get a nice usefully fast charge from the magnets. Well, we've got a patent pending on something that is compatible with that, right? So it works completely with Qi 2. It's just a whole lot faster. Okay, and we've got a patent pending on it. We're working on the engineering for it at the moment. But I want to find a way of getting people into the investor presentation to find out about it. And we just came up with this very simple idea, which is I want you to imagine in your mind right now a Dunkin' or anybody's donut, a donut, all right, with brightly colored sprinkles on it. Okay, so just an O-shaped donut,
Okay.
brightly colored sprinkles on it. Okay, so this is not the kind of thing that you expect in an ad for an investor presentation from anybody other than a donut shop,
That's
right?
it.
Okay. But the thing about what we're doing with the charging is we're using, remember I said that there's the ring of magnets and there's the coil. There's some space in the middle of that, like the inside of the coil. You never see any of this, but that's what's going on inside your phone and inside the charger. There's an empty space inside the coil where nothing is going on. And our invention uses that space. In other words, we're using the hole in the donut. So the ad is kind of like, okay, look at this wasted space here. Well, we figured out how to, and we've got to make the script funny and everything. We figured out how to use this space to make your phone charge much faster. Seriously, patent pending. Come and check it out. But the point about it is that the visual is really kind of crazy and arresting, particularly in an investment format. And I'm a great believer in advertising. I mean, what I'm about to say is not exactly earth-shattering, but again, most of us don't do it most of the time. You gotta hook people. You got to get people's attention first before you stand any chance of telling them what you're about. All right. And if folks come to, and I hope I'm just going to mention the URL again, Jason, magfast.com/scale. So that's magfast.com/scale. If you go there and sign up, we'll get you along to the presentation. At the presentation, you will see us. Saatchi isn't in this month's one, but the faster charging technology isn't in this month's one. But we're going to demonstrate a technology that we've licensed now. We're going to be first to market that is able to recharge a power bank. That's a portable battery pack. It's able to recharge it like 5 times faster than you're used to. Right? If you have one of those, those portable power packs that you carry around, JC, you probably have one.
I do.
Yeah, they typically take, if it's empty, an hour and a half to recharge. Hour and 3/4. You might, you get a bit of charge in 15 or 20 minutes, but to fully charge that, we're demoing, we can now charge it in 20 minutes. Right, and we can get it half charged in less than half of that. So you're running out of the door, you forgot to charge your charger, we can charge it super fast now. And the technology has been checked out by the Department of Energy and the Michigan University and UL, UL, which is their logo is on half of the electronics you have in your house. They're the certification lab. So this stuff is legit. We're going to be the first, we think, to bring it to market. If you're interested in investing, trust me, we've got serious stuff for you when we get to the presentation. But if we never get your attention in the first place, so if we're going to, so we need to be, so test optimized scale, we need to test ads that get people's attention because they've got a donut or an old guy driving a car. All right.
You're seeing the data, you're seeing what's actually resonating with people.
Yeah. And then optimize, obviously choose, in pure advertising terms, choose the ads that work best, refine the audiences, play with the messaging. And scale. One of the ways we've been able to do the product sales that kind of at the level we've done ever since we started is by having one of these presentations running evergreen. Right? We typically do investor presentations live, but evergreen. And I want to again commend a company that we work with who we love. It's a small team doing great work. eWebinar. They can hook you up so that if you've got a presentation, or you've been a guest on a great podcast or whatever, if you've got any kind of video that you'd like to be able to present to people other than just playing it on a web page, they can hook it up so that people register, and then the video plays, plays at a specified time, and we did that from pretty much the beginning of MAGFAST. Pretty much not. It might even be true to say non-stop, except when the internet's down, kind of thing. But pretty much since we began, we've had an evergreen webinar. That means a webinar that was recorded live or as if live and is available to play as if live. And we've typically had somebody somewhere watching it almost every hour for years now since we started the company. Right. And that means you can be delivering a really high quality presentation, but you don't have to be there the whole time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you've been able to break down some of the questions I ask at the end of the podcast, what to test, how to optimize, any tips, any examples towards scale. testing
It's,
imagery, testing formats, optimizing towards what's working.
yeah.
Didn't mention to the audience that these webinars, these presentations. I mean, you'll launch a campaign with 600K, hundreds of thousands raised as a
We did.
result. So the numbers speak behind it. And then
Yeah, I
how
think
have you
so.
been able to scale and bring in thousands of investors? I imagine there's some peer-to-peer marketing. People are excited about becoming
Yeah, I mean,
shareholders
look,
and
I mean,
sharing from there.
our main thing is that we have built up a customer list over the years.
Hmm.
At our best, we have looked after those customers well and maintained the relationship. We've been less good at recently. For the first few years, we did a live stream pretty much every week, and we want to get back into that now. We've just been we've kind of been reinventing the company a bit this year. But we've kind of, so we've been there, do a good job of keeping in touch with the community. And then when we've got some news, we've got a lot of people that we can invite. The
Warm
mailing list is now,
audience.
the active mailing list is now, it's somewhere like 40 or 50,000 folks. The total mailing list is more like 250,000.
Right.
Um, and when we do this, I mean, we did a live stream recently that was a disaster. I'll tell you about it in a second because it was like Apollo 13. It was a successful disaster, or the disasterful success, or whatever the phrase is. But and the peak audience was 5 or 6 thousand people watching it simultaneously, which you can do if you build up your mailing list. I mean, I don't think there are many marketers who would say don't build up your your mailing list, don't build up a mailing list. It might literally be an email list, but it might be a texting list. It might be followers on the different platforms. You want to build as many of these as you can. Some will work better for some businesses than others. But yeah, we got them along. The disaster was, Jace, obviously, when you're doing an important live stream, you want to test everything in advance. I spent 2 hours in this studio in advance of that live stream, and my apologies that my tech kind of messed up the beginning of our recording today. But I spent 2 hours just checking absolutely everything, and then I came in with half an hour to spare before the live stream. My main camera wasn't working. This is one that's worked flawlessly for like 7 years,
Hmm.
and it just turns out that one of the little cables, a little adapter that was used to connect it, the electronics had failed, dead. So like with minutes to spare, I was trying to hook. So that was bad luck, but it was the small piece of bad luck. The much bigger piece of bad luck was we got the presentation underway because I managed to hook up another camera in time. I've done this a few times, so it didn't throw me off too badly. I jump in. We're 10 minutes into the presentation. The main live stream feed that's from a provider that we had nothing to do with us failed. So we had like 6 or 7,000 people watching at that moment. I forget the exact number. It froze, the whole feed froze, and it was like 5 or 10 minutes before it came back. I want to shout out to my team who fixed it and were sending out emails and texts behind the scenes. But this was totally out of our control, totally not us. We sent out the text. We got some of the audience back. They did a good job. We raised $300,000 off of that presentation of our share offering in the next 24 hours. So 300,000 was from the disaster end of the scale for us. All right. We think that probably that failed live stream, we will never know, but it probably cost us as much again, didn't it? Probably cost us. So we're actually doing a reboot on the whole thing. We're going to polish that presentation up, include a few new things, and so on. And so that's the one that's going out in a couple of weeks, to which you'll be invited. And here's the thing: there's going to be 2 streams this time. We've figured out a way. But if one stream, we've never had it go down before. But if one stream goes down, you're going to be able to click on another tab in your browser, and you'll be able to watch the other stream. So I guess what would that be? Would that be optimized? That would be
That would
optimized,
be
wouldn't it? Optimizing the
optimized.
stream. Yeah, yeah.
And back to the beginning of the podcast and discussion, being able to dance in the conversation. You have a tech issue come up, here's what we do. I know you were able to get a large percentage of the viewers back. One's working through that. Can you move that timing, by the way, and the way life works? But and now you're scheduling this next presentation, polishing it
Yeah.
off, and that audience you've built is signing up, excited for that, based on the
Yeah,
connection they have with the brand, with you, and most of all the product.
you're right. So I mean, we have a team that we work with. One of the founders of Napster, some of our folks have met, John Fanning. He has like a kind of very large network and large database and so on. So he invites some of his folks along. We work with you guys with you know, I'm putting quotes around conventional advertising, but I mean, you know, right, because we're always trying new things. But we
Yes.
work with you to invite people to register for the thing, and we will invite our list again. And some of them will be watching it a second time, and some people won't have watched previously. But I think it's gonna be. I got to say, I mean, I'm the what we're now showing folks. These new products and this new fast charging technology. I'm more excited about that than anything we've done since we started the company. I think it's really, you know, I'm really proud of it. I'm really excited about this stuff, but it's expensive to do. You know, we've got to bring in lots of investment capital. We're gonna, you know, we want to raise money kind of on the capital markets eventually, and so on. It's a, you know, it's a big vision. And then we've also got this other thing that we'll talk about more when you join us at the presentation.
Yes.
We think that charging when you're out and about is a pain. You know, if you're out and about and your phone's running out of power, public charging is terrible at the moment. Like there are very few chargers. They're broken. It's not worth a coffee shop putting them in because people sort of steal them and break them and so on. And we think we've got a model that will be great for the venues, you know, for restaurants and airports and you know, you name it, coffee shops, and great for customers and great for us as a business. We think there's a way of putting it together that's a delightful experience for people who need a charge. As a minimum, it's a service that costs the venues nothing, maybe even makes them a little bit of money. You know, because to put in a really solid charger, it's like an ATM or something. I mean, it's like this is equipment. It's, you know, to building the thing properly needs to be put in there. It needs to be maintained. It always needs to be working. But we're working on a partnership at the moment that we think can make a very profitable business there, and that's recurring revenue. Of course, you install it once, and then it's generating revenue kind of day in, day out, rather than individual product sales. So we're very excited about that as well. All part of the big Power Pivot presentation coming up soon.
There you go. And audiences could, of course, go to magfast.com/scale to learn more. Seymour, I'm so grateful that you were able to take the time to you know, have this conversation. I am well aware of most of these facts, but always learn more. Even took a, you know, a whole page of different notes in our discussion beyond, you know, what I've seen about MagFast to date. You guys are always innovating. I know when I look at my other cables, other chargers, I've bought a lot in the past and stocked up on them. You think you're getting a good price buying on Amazon from some you know, generic supplier, and they break, and at inopportune moments at that, and then you are hopping around
Yeah.
town trying to figure out where to charge. It's amazing, not just the feeling I get using the products, but the confidence I have around them. So it's funny that the little things and the things that you use every day can make such a big impact in your life. So applaud you for not only being able to take your idea into real life, but creating this company that is thriving and bringing in its audience as shareholders. I am bullish on regulated investment crowdfunding and how it democratizes access to both retail and accredited investors to get involved early stage with the organizations that they back and that they are proud to be, you know, customers of. And they can be, you know, a shareholder right alongside you, you know, using the Netcapital campaign. And you are really a poster boy and an example of how this exemption from the SEC can be used and really be a win on all sides of the table, from customer to the company and everyone else involved.
I'm just thrilled to be called a boy for the first time in many decades. There, Jason. You know.
I always laugh when you say old man in a car, old man. I look at you as very youthful, and your energy definitely surpasses you know, many speakers, many CEOs out there. So I don't
Thank you.
think you give yourself enough credit. Well, excellent, Seymour. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Seymour, any final messages you want to leave viewers, listeners with before they go to
I don't know.
magfast.com/scale?
I think just always. I mean, look, listen. Everything is about energy, right? I mean, you just would kind of have to compliment me on my energy,
Yes.
and there is a there's a great. Here we go. This is actually a fantastic final suggestion or tip. Get onto YouTube and look up the video. Is it location, location, location? You know what? When you put this out, maybe if I'm too slow to find it,
Yeah, we could put it in there. Location,
location,
location, location.
location, location. I'm just checking it quickly now here. Um, it's this brilliant piece about a kind of above and below the line, and I'm not getting it from that search. So now let me do a different search. Hang on, above, below, line. Okay, right. It's okay. So here, right. With apologies to the editor and anybody listening live, here's the name of the YouTube: Locating Yourself, a Key to Conscious Leadership. Now, I know that sounds a bit wow, conscious leadership. Locating Yourself, a Key to Conscious Leadership. You'll see that the like the image that comes with it is like a hand that's drawing. It's one of those videos where the hand is drawing an image. This is absolutely brilliant. Basically, if you're a human who understands English, and if not, get a translated version of it. We basically, it explains much better than I will do in the next few seconds. It explains how we are all at all times either operating, quote, above or below the line. And when we're below the line, when we're below.
No one seems to know this.
Oh, Seymour may have lost you there. Well, have been able to find that link. I posted it to the chat here. Seymour looks like he may have been frozen. Here is the YouTube version. So definitely going to be checking that out with my team. And could wait another moment to see if Seymour returns. But what great information we've been able to take in about how MAGFAST has been grown, and want to be able to thank everybody for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Definitely head out to magfast.com/scale, as well as some of the great links Seymour has shared with us today. It's been pleasure having you participate in this podcast recording. Usually it's just me and the guest speaking and distributing the recording later on. So thank you for being part of this event here today. Thanks to Seymour and the MAGFAST team. We'll see everybody next time. Take care.